Welcome to Chefs in the City. My name is Ann Fisher, and I'm the former longtime host and executive producer of All Sides with Ann Fisher on WOSU Public Media. Maybe you remember that. I retired a few years ago after covering every conceivable topic and issue, from politics to pandemics, hockey to healthcare, and food. Always lots of food. Cooking food, eating food, entertaining with food, recipes and restaurant reviews. Sometimes I did cookbooks on my own, but I did primarily work on food issues with two brilliant lawyers who also are longtime cooking teachers. They cook together, as a matter of fact, restaurant reviewers, world travelers, and all around, I love calling them bon vivants, Rich Terapak and Steve Stover. We've joined forces again to bring you Chefs in the City again, because Central Ohio loves a good conversation about food and is brimming always with new restaurants. It's impossible. I don't know how people get out to all of them. New food trucks, venerable institutions, of course, and lovers of food. Steve, tell them what we want to do.
Well, Ann, we love to talk about food, and particularly restaurants. We've been doing this together on WSU for 15 years, and we want to talk about the who, what, when, where, and how of the Columbus restaurant scene. Primarily, people want to know what's new, what's hot, what are the cool restaurants to go to, who are the hot chefs and things like that.
Where's the best place to get pizza?
Or a burger.
or a burger.
Whatever. And where. For example, Gay and High has become a destination for food. But I think that will be the focus of what we do. We also talk about cookbooks. We can talk about Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking or Mark Bittman's How to Cook Everything. And we can also look to other sources for recipes, including the New York Times Cooking, which is a $40 a year
bargain
Absolutely.
Of thousands and thousands of recipes and very, very up-to-date and cool and new restaurants.
And when you're stuck with yet another chicken breast that you have to figure out what to do. Just plug in, search for chicken breast.
Well, chicken breast and, canned peas.
Chicken breasts and the chefs who cook them. We also, over the years, have gotten to know most of Columbus chefs. And so we'll bring some of them to meet with you and talk about what they're doing, and especially maybe some who are opening new restaurants.
Right. Yep. And some who have opened and closed and opened and closed. I mean, it's an incredible process and circulation of talent in this city, too.
Oh, there is. And the nice thing is it's really feeding on each other. Yeah. I think they're cooperating, and it really improves the quality of what we've got to offer here in Columbus, Ohio.
What else are we going to – okay.
Well, and also, just recently, we've seen more collaboration among chefs. 5 of Columbus's top chefs doing a dinner together.
Yeah.
And helping each other plate and getting to know each other. And I think that's created a sort of a new synergy in Columbus.
I agree.
Of the chefs being together. And I think it's to the benefit of all of us.
You know, one of my favorite things when we have interviewed chefs before together, and when we will in the future, is to ask them where do they go when they go out and not to their own place.
Yeah, and that is a practice that Cameron Mitchell does in particular. Yeah. Although he's got plenty of places of his own to go check out.
100 apparently.
Yeah, 100. Cento, as we say.
Right.
He is always out looking at the competition and encouraging the competition.
So what else are we going to do?
Well, we're going to visit with foodies, other foodies. Hopefully we will have some here with us. My wife and I, Steve, and his wife, Mary, have been blessed with many, many good food friends. And food is what brought us together for the most part. Back in the old days, they used to call it a gourmet group. That may be a little passé, but it certainly is boomer. But it's really been a wonderful gift, and it's the socialization we all need to keep from getting dementia.
Well, you guys have done a great job of not just sticking with your old favorites, but always making sure you're checking out the new as well. And that's a whole nother many generations of people now.
Yeah.
And diversity as well.
Yes.
I mean, we've gone from Midwestern sameness, mashed potatoes and gravy, to having the food of 48 different countries here in Franklin County.
Yeah, multiple places, like Morse Road, Bethel Road, and other places where you can.
Gay and High.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gay and High. Yeah.
Yep. It's really moving along, and that's from our youth. I won't tell you when that was. When all we had was a steak at the High Lie, or chop, or some relatively unimaginable. Well, we always had pizza.
Yeah, Columbus is a great pizza town.
Always had pizza, but the quality of some of that, particularly the Chinese food, was not all that wonderful, and it's gotten much better.
It's just incredible these days what we have in Columbus compared to any place else.
I wanted to talk about you two a little bit, introduce you a little bit more double. I mean, I'm not sure we ever actually did a very good job of that at WOSU. So I wanted to talk a little bit about.
We're happy to talk about ourselves.
But it's interesting because you've been teaching cooking for 40 plus years now.
40 plus years.
Yeah.
And it was totally accidental, I think. I got started looking for a cheap way to go to a Jim Boudreau's class at Good Things.
Jim Boudreau's being
a great financial planner, but most importantly to us, one of the founders of City Barbecue.
Right.
And a Columbus food pioneer.
Yeah, really. And so I was too cheap to want to pay for those classes because we were good friends and neighbors. I wanted to audit the class, and he said, "No, you can't do that. You got to come at least chop for me." So I started off assisting him, and then Steve and I actually worked together for a number of years, and realized our interest in food and restaurants.
You mean you worked as lawyers together?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the Ohio Ethics Commission.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
but believe it or not, we were both directors.
They're like
at one
onions. I'm still, working my way through their.
feeling it.
Yeah.
And so I think we were invited by a sorority to alumni sorority group to do a cooking demonstration, and that then sort of morphed into the Continental. Is that where it was?
The Continent, yes.
The Continent.
Oh, the Continent.
The
Overby's
Overby's Emporium
Continent.
at the Continent, and then Betty Rossbottom hired us at La Belle Pomme at Lazarus.
The very longtime journalist, or
And we
I
were
should say
there
columnist.
for 13 years. She had a nationally
Syndicated
column,
yeah.
and then we also taught almost everywhere. We taught at Columbus State,
The Ohio State Fair.
Barnes or Williams-Sonoma, Sur La Table, and even of some places in Granville, and then we settled at Franklin Park Conservatory, where we teach today. We do 3 or 4 classes a year.
At their barn?
At the barn.
At the barn, the Wells Barn.
Yep.
Nice
And,
facility.
Beautiful.
We haven't killed each other yet.
But I will say the
Close.
kind of classes you teach are observational classes.
Yes.
They're
Right.
not participatory.
Yes, and we have, but the reason being, one of the reasons being, we get usually 30 to 36 people at these classes. And so
Right.
to have everybody participate in the cutting and the chopping doesn't work.
They can hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to, I'm amazed at how much you guys get out, because I'm sort of more of a homebody, and I'm, you guys get me out.
Not exactly.
I know, but you get out and you just keep meticulous records of where you've been, what you've had, all that stuff. When did that start to be a thing with you?
Steve has a volume of...
Steve's like a factotum, by the way.
I am.
He is indeed, and he's probably been keeping his log of his and Mary's experiences for all of their marriage, and including travel and cooking classes and parties and anything
I'm
else.
a bear of very little brain, and I like to remember the wonderful things I've done, and I can go back, and they're all on the computer now, but we used to do handwritten logs of every time I go to a restaurant, I write down what we have.
And what everybody else at the table had.
Usually.
And you take pictures.
Which is coming in real handy as we sort of not able to pull up those thoughts as rapidly as we used to.
Yeah, well, we're not. Our recall's not as quick now. It's handy. But I love to have a record of the things we've done, and it helps us share it with other people.
And other people frequently ask, other people who may not be in one of our food groups or immediate circle of friends, know that Steve Stover has a log. If you want to go to Paris and visit.
I have a restaurant list for Paris.
Right.
and one for several other cities.
San Francisco, Seattle.
Paris.
Yeah,
I've got a good
Paris.
Paris friend. But we like to share that, and we like to share it with our friends. And, sharing a meal together, we've talked about this, is the greatest social convention. And it's how we interact with people and how we share things, food and wine together. And so I think that's something we want to share with our audience.
Yeah.
And this has been just seeing, I'm thinking about when I moved here 36 years ago, what Columbus was like. It was the capital city.
Yeah.
It was just steak and potatoes everywhere you went.
Occasional pork chop.
And so I'm wondering how you two managed during those what do you call them, salad days of restaurant fair and
Restaurant
Columbus?
history.
Even then, we were snooping around, looking at different. Remember, the Grumpy Gourmet said that 40 years ago,
Of the Columbus Dispatch,
the only ethnic restaurants were Guim Long, Yang Mei, and Prezzuti. That was about it in Columbus 40 years ago. But to be part of and to be able to share the explosion of food, not just different ethnic cuisines, but the level of cuisine that we have in Columbus.
Yeah, and again, we've been blessed with friends who introduced us to some of the new and wonderful chefs that came to Columbus at that time. Hartmut Hankey comes to mind.
Richard Rosendale. Kent Rigsby.
And from that you gain a lot of information about what's new and happening, and you have something to talk about because they're opening restaurants and creating new dishes. Kamal at the refectory, the manager of the restaurant, but he has a wonderful French chef,
Richard Blondin
from Lyon, and brings that was a new cuisine for Columbus. Although we did have, what was the one earlier than that? It was across from Grant Hospital. We'll remember.
L'Armagnac.
So those were around. Just had to dig them up, and we were fortunate to be able to be introduced to those by friends who knew these people.
There's one iconic thing about Columbus that when you have a hot new restaurant, the Columbusites storm it. They are interested in food, and everybody wants to go. So years ago, before public media, we would wait a couple of weeks.
You mean before social media?
Before social media. We'd wait a couple of weeks or even months to go to a new restaurant because we wanted the hordes to leave, and then we would go in.
And the service to be settled. And,
yeah. The restaurateurs preferred that too at that time. Now they want you to be there the day you open because the chit chat on social media is so critical.
That's a lot of pressure on them.
It is.
The soft openings are super soft. I mean, it's got to be hard.
Yeah, it's okay for some of the people, again, like Cameron, who has a staff at every restaurant here in town, probably the best trained wait staff around. And what he does is he opens a new restaurant, he just steals from his other restaurants and uses those folks to train the new people, and keeps it. So that makes it easier to go in there and have the real experience of the restaurant.
But not everybody can do that. And to that extent, I think it's useful to give them a little bit of slack at the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's talk briefly just to kind of about our philosophy about reviews of restaurants. We're not into the trashing of a restaurant.
Right.
We're into lifting up what we find out there that's good.
We want to tell people and support the people the restaurateurs and chefs in Columbus that are doing the right thing, doing things the right way, made from scratch cooking, and those are the kind of people we want to support.
And when we have an experience that isn't so positive, we don't necessarily have to bring that up. We might talk with the chef himself and saying we enjoy this or that, but we're not publicizing the negativity.
And why not?
Why not? Because, again, I guess because we want these people to continue to try this.
Improve.
Yeah.
We want to support them in doing the right thing, and it's just not helpful to anybody to trash people. We're there to inform.
Yeah.
and engage people who are interested in Columbus restaurants.
So I bring the journalism chops, meaning I ask questions.
She's good at it too.
And Rich and Steve, you guys bring pretty much everything else, including that decades of experience as great cooks, travelers, and teachers. The travel must very much
It's broad.
inform your
Physically as well.
your teaching and just
Sure, it gives you a lot of opportunities to try other cuisines in their locale.
Yeah. The real deal.
The real deal. Yeah, and it's again, I think that all grew out of the gourmet groups, and we decided. I think one of the first trips we took was to the Greenbrier, and experienced some of the great cuisine being offered there. But eventually, traveling to Europe principally, and for instance, this last summer we spent the month of May on an island in Greece called Syros, in a beautiful house. We had 56 people over 4 weeks.
Crazy, man.
And it came with 2 chefs who were very good. In fact, our friend Betty Rossbottom was there one week, and every time a meal came out, she would kind of corner the chef and get the menu. And
I accused her of shaking down the chef for his recipes.
That's exactly right. She did.
We did.
And that's that's the way we can experience these dishes and try to figure out how to do them
Broaden our
ourselves.
own horizons.
And so a great meal, is best shared, and you're also very good at that. You've had some incredible meals in your homes with incredible people, including Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes, she was at our house in 2002, and she was quite a foodie. First thing she came in was looked at the cookbooks and said, well, Marty, her husband, had that. And she was also a wonderful guest. She ate very slowly, but appreciative of our work. And we've had delegations.
That's how she stayed so skinny. If you eat slowly, you feel full faster.
Well, I interviewed her trainer one time, so.
And we've had
that's close.
We've had
the RBG workout.
Delegations from China and from Ukraine at our house, and also interesting groups of people locally, diverse groups of people sharing ideas. And doing restaurant reviews for 40 years gives you a real interesting perspective.
One thing that both of you told me a few years back, is it's kind of lonely sometimes because people are afraid to cook for you.
Oh, absolutely.
I've gotten over that, sadly, for them. I'll cook for them.
We're so grateful when we get an invitation to someone's home for dinner, because it's a byproduct that we don't particularly like, as we have a reputation that we're too good to cook for.
We're pretty happy eaters, and similarly, we have Chef Hanky over for dinner from time to time.
Sure,
and we get the same feeling. So,
yeah.
So, but I think just doing that just adds to your feelings of goodwill and the enjoyment of food
and people,
right?
And wine,
food and people and wine. What can go wrong? So. Like I said, a great meal is best shared. So we'd like our listeners, our viewers, to share this with friends near and far. We're not bound by city, state, regional, or national borders. Obviously, we're primarily focused on Central Ohio, but we want to hear from like-minded people from anywhere. There is a chef in a city, and maybe it's just you in your house. Next time we are going to mull how Central Ohio has attracted repeated national attention, right, for its culinary culture. So that's next on.
Yeah, we look forward to you joining us. I think we have a lot to disclose.
There's a lot to talk about.
Chefs in the City.
Chefs in the City, we're back. Thanks for joining us.
Boxland Media. Think big.